What's up, everybody? Welcome into another Big Man on Campus college basketball preview video. Today, we're taking a look at the Colonial Conference, the CAA, one of my favorite conferences. We'll break it down for you in just a second. I hope you're enjoying all the preview videos. Make sure you check them all out on my YouTube channel. And if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe. Let's get into the CAA. This has always been, from a betting perspective, one of my favorite conferences to bet on. There's two rules in this conference, and I'll give you them both right out of the gate. One, take the dogs and pray. Take the points and pray, as our friend Donnie Rightside says. This is always a conference with a lot of parity. This is a conference with a lot of close games, and it is a wide-open league. There's always a lot of contenders. There's always a lot of teams that can get the job done, and there's always teams that play hard in this conference. So, obviously that's one thing. Another thing is bet overs. This is always a very good over conference. The pace is always very good in this conference. There's always real good guards in this conference. And a lot of the time, there's a lot of ball motion offenses, just offenses that score points. And there's certain teams that really just run the right offenses. And there are also teams that have very little size, and you can exploit them. Defensively, they stink. It's a fun conference to bet overs in. Let's break it down here for you and see what we like. College of Charleston is obviously probably the favorite, but there is a big question mark. How do you replace Jarrell Brantley? Jarrell Brantley was one of the really good players in this conference, but Earl Grant's team's definitely not going to have a lot of trouble with the guard position. Grant Riller is arguably the best player in this conference. There's guys like Brevin Galloway, Brendan Tucker, Jalen Richard. All those guys are going to play on this team. And again, guard's not going to be an issue. It's the question of, can you defend the paint? Who can defend down low? They kind of went away from that defensive prowess that they've had the last couple of years. And last year were really an offensive team. They really battled it out with Hofstra. And Joe Mihalik's team this year is definitely kind of different as far as that's concerned. They do lose historically good player, Justin Wright Foreman, who just was a bucket machine. That's all he did was score. They're an interesting team. They play kind of an interesting offense. It's basically four guards and a big. And they went out and got a Georgia transfer, Isaac Kante, who should be able to provide a lot of stability down low and can kind of set picks and run motion and really kind of set up a pretty good offense for this team. I talked last year about Desir Bowie, their point guard. He's a kid from the Bronx. He's really good New York guard. I think he fits the system perfectly. Him and Eli Pemberton are kind of two guards that I think could be really solid players in this league. They're always going to score points, Hofstra. It's as usual in this conference. Can they get enough stops? But this year, they should have a guy that can contend with some of the bigs in this conference, like Nathan Knight and players like that. I'm interested to see what Kante can bring to Hofstra this year. Northeastern, I think they struggle. No Vasa Pusika, he's gone. They're not really on my wavelength. Delaware, JMU, you have William and Mary, Elon. They're kind of all in the middle. A team that's intriguing is the James Madison Dukes. They're a group that bring back a lot of talent. Darius Banks and Matt Lewis are two of the better guards in this conference. Their just issue is defensively. They'll be a great over team all year. They score a ton of points. They don't play a ton of defense, and they really can't guard anyone at the rim. So there's going to be a lot of backdoor cuts and things like that. If you face the wrong big, they should eat you up. And there's some teams with some good bigs. I mean, you look at, I mentioned Nathan Knight down at William and Mary. He's really good. Obviously Kante, we just talked about at Hofstra. I'm sure Northeastern has some bigs that are coming in that are always going to be solid. And then Drexel has Alahan Demir, a really good big as well. So JMU is going to be a good over team as we kind of get into the season. If I had to find a sleeper, I mean, it's so tough because all these teams are in such level playing fields. I'd probably go with Delaware. I think Delaware is kind of interesting. They have some guys that you're excited about. Ryan Allen, Kevin Anderson are really good pieces at the guard position. They brought in a transfer, Nate Darling, good shooter. And they Brought in Dylan Painter, who played at Villanova. He's a kid from Hershey, Pennsylvania. I actually saw him play in high school. Good player. I'm interested to see how he does at kind of the next level. They're kind of an interesting team. I remember a few years ago, Monte Ross had a solid team that went to the NCAA tournament. They were a great team to bet on a couple of years ago, I think 5 or 6 years ago. They're kind of an interesting team. Delaware's definitely got my eye. The good guard, good starting five, like what they can do. They're going to be my sleeper. I'll go Delaware, the Blue Hens, as a sleeper. Drexel's interesting. I mentioned Demir. Zach Spiker's team continues to find ways to score. I like Kirk Lee, good guard for them. They have another issue defensively, but you can exploit the Demir matchup. He's an issue for a lot of teams. So, I might find a way to get over to check out Drexel this year. I know they played Temple, I think the first game of the season, so might look to catch that one. But for me, I'm going to go with the winner. I'm going to go Hofstra. Really like the Conte move. I like Bowie. I like Pemberton. Brought in a guy, Omer Silverio, as well. Good guard group there. I think they're good enough defensively, and I think they do enough to stop Grant Rill at Charleston. My sleeper, I'm going to go Delaware in the Blue Hens to maybe rile some cages this year. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you check out all my previews here on my channel. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. And as I said earlier, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a video. I'm the Big Man on Campus. We'll see you next time.